Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer, so now let's talk silver. Imagine getting silver and gold shipped straight to your front doorstep for free. Just clicking one button. Well, that is the truth over here because I'm doing some massive giveaways on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Just click subscribe and wait for the giveaway entry videos, which are soon. You don't want to miss it. I promise once you hear what the prizes are, you will be very, very mad at yourself if you don't enter. Trust me. Now, an article came out yesterday titled "Silver, the Worst Isn't Over Yet." Now, if you look at a chart of silver, this is the 1 month chart. We saw it at $26 and now we're down to around 23. So yes, things, especially for precious metals, to drop $3 in the course of only a couple of weeks can be a little worrisome, but to say the worst isn't over yet is a pretty big statement, especially if people start panic selling. So let's see what this article has to say. The link will be in the description. Despite the permabulls oozing with overconfidence, we warned on May 5th that their discourteous behavior is often a precursor to a reversal. Now, I wouldn't even call it a reversal. I would say it was a lot of overbought territory. I mean, if you look, we were down to $20 in, in March. $20 almost broke down. I remember talking about potentially $17, $18 silver, and we went up to 26. So of course there had to be some type of pullback, some type of correction, which we knew was going to happen. Now, how big is this correction? Well, there also has to be incorporated what's happening with the Federal Reserve, yada yada, which I think a lot of this article has to do with. But regardless, I don't believe that things are going to get that much worse. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. The crowd remains immensely confident, which is a positive sign, not a negative one. When the permabulls count their chickens before they hatch, we're often near an inflection point, and consequently, we believe more pain will confront the precious metals as the risk/reward factor is heavily skewed into the downside. Likewise, while the crowd thumbed their nose at the impact of higher long-term interest rates, the latter weighed on the white metal's performance. I think this is people just not understanding what makes silver so valuable, or what silver's true value is, or what the dollar's true value is. Because if you understand any of those, then regardless if silver is $20 or $26 would not make any difference. To explain, the gray line above tracks the silver futures price, while the black line above tracks the iShares 20 plus year treasury bond. If you analyze the relationship, you can see that the higher TLT prices, which are lower long-term interest rates, have been celebrated by silver. Conversely, the sharp declines on the right side of the chart show how TLT is approaching its 2023 lows. And as the white metal has not been fond of the repricing, as a result, while many assumed a silver bull market was underway, long-term traction would be difficult until inflation, interest rates, and the US dollar stabilize. Fed musings. While Federal Chairman Jerome Powell said on May 19th the FFR may not need to rise as much if the economy weakens, he warned that the extent of this is highly uncertain. And that's why I hate that S word, which is speculation, because we have no idea. They have no idea. People are just going to worry, fear, uncertainty, doubt, and I mean, rightfully so, but that means that everything is based off of assumptions. There's no real price stability. And that's why I think if something that is that has intrinsical value within itself, especially physically, like physical gold and silver, should be priced off of the fundamentals. While Federal Chairman Jerome Powell said on May 19th, the FFR may not need to rise as much if, you see that if word, and it's highly uncertain. And as such, this is similar to what he said in 2021 and in 2022. If inflation fades gracefully, the Fed can relax, but if not, interest rates will need to rise further to cool the U.S. economy. On balance, Powell said inflation is still too high. Many people are currently experiencing high inflation for the first time in their lives. It's not a headline to say they really don't like it. He said during a forum that also featured former federal chairman Ben Bernanke that we think that failure to get inflation down would not only prolong the pain but also increase ultimately the social cost of getting back to price stability, causing even greater harm to families and businesses, and we aim to avoid that by remaining steadfast in pursuit of our goals. That is a much more realistic and truthful response. I love that he does bring this reality that the social costs would be even greater harm to families and businesses. And that's even to say lightly. People would freak out. I mean, especially given the 2024 election, who gets in office. I mean, regardless if candidate A, B, or C wins, we're way too deep in the hole. But if candidate A or B wins, we still could be in a much more serious situation as candidate C. I'm not a political channel. I'm not going to state my political views, but that's just the reality of it. Right now, it's a close call either way versus raising another time in June or skipping. And some of my colleagues have talked about skipping. Important to me, it is not signaling that we're done. If we did skip in June, that does not mean we're done with our tightening cycle. He added, do we then start raising again in July? Potentially, and that's so the most important thing to me is that we're not taking it off the table. So, while the crowd wants this rate hike cycle to end, just like they did in 2022, you can't wish it into reality. On the contrary, there is a lot of pivot hope that's not supported by the fundamental data. And he says, and I quote, markets seem very optimistic that rates are going to fall now. I think that they believe that inflation is going to fall, and then we're going to be able to respond to that. I hope they're right, he added. But nobody should be confused about our commitment to getting inflation back down to 2%. Now, I could say a lot about that. I'm not going to. All I know is that a lot of times hope is what they drive people off of just to keep the now calm, right? You don't want to be too realistic, even if you know that is the reality. Then he says, I think we're going to have to grind higher with policy rate in order to put enough downwards pressure on inflation and return inflation to target in a timely manner. I'm thinking 2 more moves this year. Exactly where those would be this year, I don't know, but I've often advocated sooner than later. Now, after Dallas Fed President Lori Logan said on May 18th, and I quote, "After raising the target range for the federal funds rate at each of the last 10 FOMC meetings, we have made some progress. The data in coming weeks could yet show that this is appropriate to skip a meeting. As of today, though, we aren't there yet." Now, consequently, while some Fed officials like Jefferson and Bostic preach various degrees of patience, the reality is that GDP growth has outperformed expectations, which we warned would happen. And as long as this is the case, it spells trouble for precious metals. Now, this is still talking about the micro, not the macro. We know the inevitable collapse of the dollar is coming. We know what's happening geopolitically with the BRICS nations. We know what's happening with the silver shortage and the incoming digital era, especially now with AI, and how much silver we're going to need, and to keep up with that type of demand is just not realistic. We know that's all coming, but that is the bigger picture. This is more of the 1 to 2 year picture. And that's why when I talk about triple digit silver, I'm talking about the year 2025, 2026, and I think that's when this type of stuff won't be able to hold silver back regardless of interest rates. Now, finally, while Bank of America's chief investment strategist Michael Hartnett had predicted a first quarter recession, he changed his tune on May 19th, writing that if the Fed mistakenly pauses rate hikes, long-term interest rates will rise. And if so, we most certainly ain't seen the last Fed rate hike cycle. And as such, the pain trade is higher rates, not lower. Now, overall, many of our fundamental predictions have come to fruition. You can't solve sticky inflation with long-term interest rates near 3 to 3.5%. Moreover, we warned throughout 2021 and 2022 that U.S. households were flush with cash, and that cushion has continued to spur resilient demand. And as a result, while the crowd is desperate for material disinflation, only mild progress has occurred, and the base effects reducing the headline CPI is nearing an end. Now, I like this article for a couple different reasons. There was some truth there, but a lot of it was that S word that I hate. And that's why I think we need to focus on the fundamentals. And that's also why you shouldn't be in silver as a get-rich-quick scheme, or just for 1 to 2 years thinking you're going to make a ton of money. And what is money? The silver itself is the money. And if you don't understand that, then I don't even think you should be into precious metals, because when you're buying at $26 and it jumps down to 23, then you're going to be one of those people on the fence ready to panic sell. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I hope you guys stuck with me till the end. as some of you know, I had major surgery on my teeth, and it's still a little, not a little, it's actually very hard to talk, but I want to put out videos for you all. In the next 1 to 2 weeks, I should be back to normal, but right now it still is very hard to talk. But I want to keep putting out content for you guys. I already went like 3 weeks without it, and that was hard enough itself. I just couldn't take it anymore. So hopefully you guys are liking, subscribing, leaving comments, because that engagement does really help. And also subscribe for those massive giveaways coming as well. I'm going to wrap this video up here. Let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.